Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media. Joining me today is David Lees, who is Executive Vice President of Tenant Representation for commercial real estate firm JLL. Thanks for joining us today, David.
Mario, thanks for having me on.
Well, you folks recently put out a report called Technology in the West. I want to ask you for and narrow our conversation about to Calgary. Is technology the savior of office space for Calgary?
Well, we don't necessarily think it's the savior, but it is certainly a solution, a very viable solution for the current situation, which is abundant vacancy in a market that has struggled recently through the energy downturn and into COVID.
Okay, so we're sitting at what, about close to 30% of downtown vacancy, right? We've heard recently a number of big announcements from the technology sector, right? In terms of leasing up space in Calgary.
Yeah, we've seen some good activity lately. From a few years back, groups like Benevity and Hexagon, and then more recently we've seen an influx of other groups, Infosys being the most recent to start to make their way into the city. And so we're hoping it is the beginning of a trend.
Okay, what about talking about Calgary? Why does Calgary make sense right now for these technology companies to come in and take up real estate?
Well, I think Calgary has always ranked well on a quality of life index. The Economist's quality of life index, we were fifth 2019 globally. And so I think the life in Calgary itself is very desirable. And then you get the other factors of abundant office space with low rents and minimized costs. The cost of living here is certainly more attainable than in cities like Vancouver. And we have a very educated workforce and a good number of engineers, which are very important in the tech sector.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about that workforce? I think that's one of the things that everybody has mentioned in the past that Calgary has. How important is that for attracting companies to this city?
Well, I think it's very important. It's one thing to want to come to a desirable city, but if there aren't any people to fill your seats, then it just is not feasible. So I think for the longest time, we had a lot of engineers coming out and into focused on the energy sector. Of late, there's been a shift to the tech sector for graduating classes, and we're starting to see a more relevant workforce for this tech sector.
Okay, then the only other question I had for you, David, is from a landlord's perspective. What do they need to do? Obviously they've got a lot of space that's sitting empty, whether it's in the suburbs or or even Beltline and into the downtown core. But what do these landlords need to do to attract these tech companies there beyond? Obviously, number one thing is cost, but what else do they need to do?
Well, first, I think it's a joint effort. The landlords themselves here, they've adapted to a down market. We've seen compression on rental rates, increase on incentives through deals. So the landlords are doing what they need to attract these groups. The city and the province have been making a big push as well to attract the tech sector to Calgary. So I think it's a team effort, it's a joint effort, and everyone pulling in the right direction. We'll start to see more and more of these groups make their way here.
Okay, super. Anything else you'd like to add, David?
No, I think that more or less covers it.
Okay, thanks a lot, David, for joining us.
Thanks, Mario.
That was David Lees, who is Executive Vice President of Tenant Representation for commercial real estate firm JLL. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media. Thanks for joining us today.